I've really found it very valuable to work on this mind programming issue that I mentioned briefly in our discussion, because to me that has saved decades of work.
Right on.
And it's amazing.
Mind needs healing for sure, because we are lost in programs, like you said, so that's very potent.
Yeah, and they're actual projections. So they're not just ideas, they're fake realities.
Yep.
And you know, the other thing that you mentioned, I mean, like you said, we could talk for months, but just a couple of quick things. Remember you said all these entities that are around us and everything. I'm aware of a lot of them. And I have been since I was a little kid. But when I was a little kid, I was unaware of myself. And so they were really attacking me. And this is when I was in early single digits. I mean, they would come out in the hallway when I was in bed trying to get to the bathroom at night. And I couldn't do it. And they ganged up on me and they came out of corners. And I mean, I'm real familiar with that. Wow. And then later on, as a so-called grown-up, I mean, I say so-called because very few people are actually grown-ups anymore. And they tried to attack me for a while, but when I became more conscious, they don't like to be around me at all now.
Right
I'm never attacked.
Fuck off and they'll fuck off. I mean, you got to have boundaries with these.
I don't even have to resist them. They don't want to be around me. And you know, I've learned more about the natural energy boundaries that we have around us that are part of the body. You know, they're just a non-visible part, but they're an energy field, and they have the very powerful ability to deflect any kind of negative intent and energy from anywhere. And if that gets activated and programmed, I don't think it's penetrable. And I'm really interested now in whether it can resist frequencies that are weaponized frequencies used in wireless and 5G and things like that. So I still have a lot of work to do on that, but it's there and I'm aware of it and I've used it and I've seen it work in a lot of really amazing ways. So I'm encouraged. I just feel like our time is short in this particular chapter because the dark side is really accelerating right now, and they're trying to win quickly.
I'm inspired to say also that pornography, you know, in my DVD set on pornography, I make it clear that they are doing rituals on the set of these porn films,
right?
So that demons will come onto the set, number one, but more importantly, that these demons will be released into people's lives when they watch the porn.
Yeah.
So this is another way. The sexual doorway is it's hugely responsible for a lot of the demonic forces.
So is drug use also.
Yeah,
there are certain things that let them in, and I've had some experience that I really didn't want with possession and the remedy for it. And I was shown how to do it in a way that it's not violent. It doesn't just throw the entity out into somebody else and, you know, cause more. That really did happen in the early church version. And they didn't really solve anything. They just attacked the being, which was the one that was doing the possessing, and it just attacked somebody else. And what I found, and I don't remember asking for this, but I was shown by somebody who knew how to do it, that there's a way that you can make an energetic field around a person that's actually possessed and go in and make contact with the possessing entity and let them go back to where they came from, and which makes them very happy. They're stuck and they don't know what's going on. And they've just learned to be very scary and dominant as a defense mechanism. If you can overcome that, which is hard because the energy around them is, to most people, really scary. You know, it can make them feel freezing and all kinds of weird things, and they can make sounds and faces and stuff. If you can get through that, they can be allowed to go back where they need to be, and then the person's fine.
Wow.
It's just, that's a heavy duty process.
Mm.
I mean, I don't really want to ever have to do it again. But,
I don't blame you.
But I did have the experience helping one person with that.
That's
and it worked exactly as it was supposed to. So I feel like there's these entities around us, but this is one of the weirdest. I have to be careful what I talk about too much, because the more I learn, it's like I'm not a space alien, but some kind of interdimensional alien compared to what they call normal people. So I try to learn what's appropriate in each case to communicate. But what I've found is that I look into these dark beings, and part of my investigation was 20 years on the power structure and the depth of where it's coming from and who's directing it and how it's working and what their agenda is and where it's going and why and how, elements of basically a ceremonial sacrifice of the biosphere, which is what ties it all together in my experience. And what I found is that even the really bad ones at the top of it, and they're not human, they're above the human level, in the lower levels of what I call the fourth dimension. And that's where the hells are, which I've seen at some of those. And those are absolutely real. They're not permanent, but they're real. And heavens are real too, but they're not our origin. We come from way above that. And this is just my experience. And what I found is that I go into any of these dark beings, and what I find is that they're made out of the same thing that we are at the base, which is spirit. And they're covered with this incredible mountain of programming that makes them identify as evil, and their goal is to cause pain and destruction. And they could potentially be rescued like we could. They're not permanently, irrevocably lost. And I want to get back to the point where I have the ability to bring them out of their programming and turn them into our allies.
I don't want any part of them. I want them out of my reality. I want them quarantined for the rest of eternity, so that they can only influence each other. I will never have any interest in trying to help them.
Well, at least you're helping the people not.
I actually think we made that mistake. We opened the portal to let them in. Imagine that if we started merging with them physically.
Oh, I'm not suggesting that.
That we could overcome the evil.
I think that would be a big mistake.
More like us, and just the opposite has happened.
Yeah, no, that's a real misjudgment. I would never advocate approaching any of these beings at all.
Yeah, they got to go. We can't coexist with them. They have to go. I feel very strong about that.
Well, that's with the assumption that they could never change.
Yes.
And I'm not advocating that you try this at home. That the average person should go try to convert a dark being, because they're going to get eaten. Those are really serious beings, and they're good at what they do, and all they want to do is destroy.
Yep.
I'm saying that there's a certain state that I have some memory of, which is way above them, and it's much stronger. It's not for the average human being right now, but it is possible, and it is possible for them to be reached. But I'm not advocating that. I'm saying I have an interest in it, and it doesn't involve physical interaction at all. It's on a whole different level.
Well, I'll leave that to you, my friend.
Okay.
I don't want to. I want them gone. I want them.
Yeah, and they have no business bothering people here.
Yeah, I think we have a right to exist without evil.
Yeah, this place could be incredibly beautiful.
We need to have that desire to exist without evil, and stop.
You would think that would be normal.
You would think people would. People make excuses. They say evil creates balance, and it's all nonsense.
Yeah, that is pretty much nonsense. If they had this power of imagining is very creative, and if you're imagining partly evil, then you get evil as part of your reality.
I'm imagining that we have a right to exist without it, and that there's a way for us to make it leave. I
totally agree. I don't think it's going to want to be around if you keep the right frequency.
Maybe there's a way that it can't be around.
No. By saying it doesn't want to, it would use energy to run away, because it's very uncomfortable for it to be around that kind of frequency. And this is one of the things I've told people who are into like ayahuasca and marijuana and so-called natural drug use and things like that, is that it breaks down an energy barrier, and it makes those people susceptible to being visited by people that they would not like being visited by. And it's better to keep that energy field intact. And if you do, you don't have to worry about it because it's uncomfortable to those beings. They're not going to try to be around it.
Right. I would never use a substance like that again because I really feel that there's a danger in it. So a lot of people think it's very spiritual to use these.
Yeah, their motive is often very good.
Yeah.
And they think they're going to spiritually speed up their progress and all that.
But that's not what my experience was. So
yeah,
I'm out of that loop too. You know, I'm kind of.
Good. I think you're completely right.
Yeah.
So I will.
Oh, Richard.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll tell people about the books and the websites and everything I can do, to get people to you. So
I appreciate that very much. Okay.
Okay. Have a good night tonight.
Take care, Richard. Bye for now. Thanks again.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.